In September 1983, the world was closer to nuclear war than most people will ever realize, and almost no one knew it at the time. The Cold War was at one of its most dangerous points, with the United States and the Soviet Union deeply suspicious of each other, both sides armed with thousands of nuclear weapons, and both believing that a surprise attack was not only possible, but likely. Just weeks earlier, the Soviet Union had shot down a civilian airliner, killing everyone on board, and tensions were already extreme. NATO military exercises were being watched closely by Soviet intelligence, and Soviet leaders believed the United States might be preparing for a first strike. It was in this atmosphere of fear and mistrust that a single signal appeared on a Soviet computer screen and nearly changed the course of human history. Late at night, on September 26th, Stanislav Petrov was on duty at a secret Soviet early warning center known as Serpukhov 15. His job was simple but terrifying in its responsibility. Monitor satellite systems designed to detect incoming American nuclear missiles. If the system detected a launch, Petrov was required to report it immediately to his superiors, who would then decide whether to launch a massive nuclear retaliation. The entire process was designed to move fast, because once missiles were in the air, there would be only minutes to respond. There was no room for hesitation, no room for debate, and no room for mistakes. Shortly after midnight, alarms suddenly began to sound. Computers showed that a U.S. intercontinental ballistic missile had been launched and was heading toward the Soviet Union. Bright warning lights flashed. Sirens filled the room. According to the system, this was not a drill. Petrov was now facing the exact situation he had been trained for. The rules were clear. Report the alert as real. If he did, the information would move up the chain of command, and within minutes, Soviet leaders could order a nuclear counterstrike against the United States. Then the system reported something even worse. A second missile launch, then a third, then more. The computer now claimed that several American nuclear missiles were on their way. To the system, this looked like the beginning of a nuclear war. Inside the control room, tension was overwhelming. Other officers watched Petrov, waiting for his call. The phone that connected him directly to high command sat within arm's reach. Once that call was made, events would move beyond his control. The system labeled the alert as highest confidence. Everything on the screen told him the attack was real. But something did not feel right to Petrov. A real American first strike, he believed, would involve hundreds of missiles, not just a few. Launching only 5 missiles made no sense as a first move in nuclear war. Petrov also knew the satellite system was new and had not yet proven itself. It relied on detecting heat and light from missile launches, and he remembered warnings from engineers that rare atmospheric conditions could confuse the sensors. Time felt distorted. Every second mattered. Petrov understood that if he waited too long and the missiles were real, the Soviet Union could lose its chance to respond. His training told him to trust the machine. His instincts told him something was wrong. Petrov made a decision that went against protocol. He reported the alert as a false alarm. Minutes passed. The alarms continued, but nothing happened beyond the screen. No confirmation came from ground-based radar systems, which were supposed to detect missiles as they crossed into Soviet airspace. Still, Petrov waited. If he was wrong, there would be no fixing it. Eventually, radar stations confirmed what Petrov had suspected. There were no missiles. The attack never existed. The satellites had mistaken sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds for missile launches. A rare alignment of the sun, the earth, and cloud cover had fooled the system completely. Nuclear war had been avoided, not by technology, but by hesitation. Instead of praise, Petrov faced criticism. His superiors were uncomfortable with what had happened. The incident revealed how fragile the system was, and admitting that would raise dangerous questions. Petrov was questioned, blamed for incomplete reports, and quietly pushed aside. The event was classified, buried in secrecy, and never mentioned publicly for years. Petrov returned to normal life. He did not see himself as a hero. He later said he was simply doing his job and making a reasonable decision under pressure. He lived modestly, unknown to the world, while nations continued to build more weapons capable of destroying everything. When the Soviet Union collapsed years later, details of the incident finally became public. Western analysts were stunned. Many agreed that the Soviet leadership at the time was already expecting an American attack. A confirmed alert might have led to an immediate launch order, especially given how little time leaders would have had to think. The frightening truth is that the system worked exactly as designed. It detected what it believed to be missiles and demanded an instant response. What saved the world was not a safeguard, a backup system, or a fail-safe switch. It was doubt. Petrov understood something machines could not. War does not start quietly. It does not begin with just a few missiles. He trusted logic over fear, judgment over orders. On that night, there was no explosion, no warning broadcast, and no history book written the next day. Life went on as normal. People slept, cities remained standing, and almost no one ever knew how close it all came to ending. The story of September 26, 1983, is not about victory or defeat. It is about how easily everything could have been lost because of a mistake. It shows how thin the line is between peace and disaster, and how much power can rest in the hands of one ordinary person in an extraordinary moment. One signal, one decision, and a world that survived by minutes.